Hello and welcome to another episode of the Tom and John Show. We are fortunate today to have as our guest Darren Davis, Director of GCSAA and a superintendent in Florida, which is a different kind of animal than many of you that might be listening in today or watching us. But we're going to touch on a broad array of subjects, including managing warm season grasses and politics and the like. But thank you, Darren, for joining us, and I'll throw it back to you, John.
Okay. Yeah, Darren, thanks for joining us again. For those who don't know, I'm John Kaminsky at Penn State, and Tom is joining me again today here for the Tom and John Show. I think this may be episode 12. I think we had a couple. Gordy and I had to reschedule one, and somebody else had to reschedule.
Right.
Get bumped to the end of the season, but I do kind of like the informality of this, but that we're trugging along with it. But Darren, I'll introduce you briefly, and then I'll let you talk. So Darren Davis from Huntsville, Alabama, but now in pretty much from Tallahassee, Florida. Darren, you are a graduate of the Penn State program back in '91, I think you said. So you must have been Dewich's last class.
I was. Yes, I was. Dr. Dewich and Dr. Waddington's last class.
Yeah, so that's pretty exciting to have gone with that era. I think we just sent out an email about, through the Musser group about the scholarship that his family is going to try and pull together for him. So hopefully we can raise some money for students to continue that kind of trend. But so Dr. Dewich, I'm sure, had a big influence on you. But one of the impressive things from my standpoint, actually, is that you've been at Olde Florida for now 23 years, which is insane to me. I think of superintendents these days and longevity at a club, and it doesn't seem to be that long. So how have you done it?
Very fortunate to get a great first job. It was not my intention to stay here 23 years. When I interviewed for this job, Kurt Keebler, a dear friend of mine, very esteemed guy in the Club Managers Association, warned me, be sure to stay for 5 years at your first job. I thought, no way I can stay 5 years at Olde Florida Superintendent. But after 5 years, I loved it, still here, hope I can get 20 more out of it.
Nice. So one of the things that we wanted to touch on was, and we will get to GCSA and your role there because I think that's important to discuss too, but one of the things that Tom and I wanted to touch on, especially coming from Penn State, where we still do ID and warm season management, and we send students to interns, but the difference between what I see on a day in, day out basis, cool season grasses, is totally different than what you deal with down in the South. And so what I was hoping that maybe you could just tell us kind of a typical season for you, if there is such a thing, and then maybe some of the differences in your experience in terms of how you manage grass down there.
Sure. I'm in extreme South Florida. I'm in Southwest Florida, Naples. So there's three distinct regions in Florida: North, Central, and South. So all three are very different. In Southwest Florida, we're very seasonal with our golf play. We generally have golf play from October to May, and that's very typical in Southeast and Southwest Florida. Many members are seasonal. They go up north to play in the summertime and here in the winter. So our seasons are winter and summer. We really have no spring and fall. It's just either hot or cold, or you have play or no play.
So what are your grasses then at your course? And you got to be all Bermuda grass across the board.
We are. When I was at Loxahatchee Club as an assistant, we still had bent grass greens. Was there for a year and a half. But at Olde Florida now since '92, when I first started, we had Tiff Dwarf Bermuda grass. We transitioned to Tiff Eagle, when the Ultra Dwarf Bermuda grass was in 1999, shortly after Dr. Hanna released it. The other grasses are all Bermuda grass. Tiffway 419 was the goal. However, as most courses in Florida, we have a variety of Bermuda grasses. Keeping it pure is almost impossible. No different than up north. You have a variety of grasses up there. So we manage what we have.
Yeah.
So Darren, when you were at Augusta.
Yes, sir.
And then you went to Loxahatchee, and that's when they did the grand experiment with bent.
Yes. I started at Golden Eagle in Tallahassee, Florida, and they had bent grass greens there. I worked for two gentlemen that were Penn State grads that convinced me to go there, so followed them to Augusta, Loxahatchee, bentgrass. But yes, now I'm with Tiff Eagle Bermuda grass.
And I think you have eventually now seen the light.
Well, it's sure a lot less stressful growing Bermuda grass than bentgrass. You know, it's funny. I remember reading one of the trade journals when they did away with the bentgrass at Loxahatchee, and they said experiment. We actually grew it there for almost 10 years. Now, it's granted, as you know, as I said earlier, though, it's either you have play or no play. So down there, our play in the summertime was very minimal. So we held on, and then in the wintertime it was great. But it's not a grass I would choose today. I don't think any Florida Golf Course Superintendent would, especially because the Delta Dwarf Bermuda grasses are so exceptional. I mean, cutting heights are below 100 continuously. So.
I think that's you hit the nail on the head. The improvements in the Bermuda grasses, in terms of their putting quality and everything, have just essentially eliminated any potential for even a ultimate genetic engineer to breed a bentgrass that could grow down there. I think that's off the table.
I agree.
Yeah, and I don't know why you'd want to even deal with it anymore. I mean, even in the Carolinas, obviously, if you start pushing north, these guys and girls, superintendents growing, bentgrass, there's problems with bent. They've got Bermuda. I'm not saying Bermuda is going to be perfect, if you move too far north, but man, in Florida, like when you're in that area, it just seems like no-brainer to me that with how good the quality of the new varieties and cultivars are, it doesn't make any sense to go backwards.
Yeah, you're right. As you said, John, the migration north has been significant of ultra dwarfs, and it's not right for every club in Georgia, Carolinas. It's not right for every club, but it's certainly a good alternative.
So I wanted to ask, because I'm always interested in the dynamics of the workforce. So what's your typical crew like then in Florida?
All Hispanic. We have been all Hispanic almost since day one. Both assistant superintendents are turf school graduates, non-Hispanic, but my crew manager and the entire crew are Hispanic, mainly Guatemalan now. We've had a number of Mexicans as well, and there are in southeast Florida, Cubans are more prolific than they are in southwest Florida.
You think that's going to change even more now that the arrangement with Cuba is opening up some?
I don't know. Well, time will tell on that one.
Yeah.
They certainly have no problem getting here now. So.
Right. What's your seasonality then? Do you do a lot of projects in the middle of the summer when nobody's there playing, and so you still have a full crew, or is it seasonal in your number of employees too?
You know, it's funny. People talk about you're in your hard work time or your not work time, and it's all relative. A season, we're basically just mowing grass and detail work and taking care of play. As I said, that's October to May, roughly. In the summertime, certainly a lot less stress because we have minimal play, but that's our harder work time. Our staff is working 7 days a week in the summer as well as winter. Cultural practices, aerification, vertical mowing, top dressing, projects. So that's our busy work time in the summertime.
Yeah, that's what I suspected that it would be, that you would be primarily doing tons of work. And from the standpoint of snowbirds, if you go down October to May, like you don't want to see golfers. I mean, you don't want to see golf course maintenance staff. You just want to be able to play because it's such a short period. How many guys do you have in your crew?
We have about 16 crew members. I have 2 assistants. I do not have an IPM technician or a irrigation technician. I have 2 folks in the shop, a head guy and an assistant guy. My philosophy on the IPM and the irrigation, when I left Loxahatchee, I was experienced in spraying. I was a spray tech at Augusta National, but my irrigation was a little bit weak. So when I was an assistant at Loxahatchee, we had an irrigation tech that was very territorial. Didn't allow me to learn and expand my knowledge. So when I got here, I thought, what better way than to have 2 assistants, and that value of the money would equal out by not having technicians. So when my guys leave here, they have done hands-on spraying as well as irrigation and trained an Hispanic force on how to do those jobs. So I'm comfortable when they leave here that they are ready to be a golf course superintendent.
And have you sent out your guys? Are they getting jobs like that? That's a whole other topic of discussion again, but I always am curious as to how people are placing their employees, after they
As you said, it's a long discussion. Certainly, I've been here 23 years. In my first, say, first half of the time, I had well over 15 people that have come in as assistants that were now golf course superintendents. However, in the last 10 years, as you know, times have changed. So, unfortunately, I've had some that have left the industry that are in the sales force or even in farming. Currently have an assistant been with me for 9 years, exceptional individual, another for 3. Both are talented people. But jobs are hard to come by these days. So
it's no different in Florida than it is anywhere else, is what you're telling me.
No, sir.
What I wanted to transition to, because that was good information about the golf course, but one thing that's excited me about what you're doing is your use of social media. And I'll preemptively say that we have a computer class, and we talk about building websites as one small component. So websites and blogs, and you kind of have to have a presence on not only social media but on the web, especially if you're trying to compete for some of those jobs as a superintendent. And your website is always one that I pull up and use as an example, because you've got a really nice website, plus you link to all your social media stuff. And without saying that you are on the senior end of social media, because you're a young guy, you're not a 22-year-old that just is like has had Facebook since they've grown up. It's something that, just like me, we had to learn after all these other people knew it. So tell me about your your first involvement and interest in social media, and kind of where that's where you see it going, or how you like it or dislike it.
Well, as you said, I'm almost 50, so it definitely was a learned thing. I relate back to Dr. Dewich. When I graduated in '91, I remember the first day of class, two years prior. I walked into class with 23 other eager, green, young individuals wanting to learn from the legend, Dr. Dewich. And he walks in, turns his back on the class, draws a circle on the board, and then on the part of the circle he writes the word turf, like 10% of the circle, a little piece of pie we call the Dewich pie. And then the 90% he said people. And he says, you'll all call me in 5 years and realize how right I was. You've come here to learn to be top 100 golf course superintendents, but what Dr. Waddington and myself can teach you is 10% of what you need to know. So I relate it back to that. Now, he certainly didn't mean social media in 1989, but it's people. And people are in tune with social media, whether you're 50, 20, or my mother, who is close to 80, is in social media. So it's a way to communicate. I remember him telling me also a lesson about doing something and then telling somebody and telling somebody and telling somebody. He was very adamant about being seen. So in today's day and age, being seen means being on social media.
Yeah, I love that your mom in her sorry, I love that your mom in her 80s is in social media and using it. It's so funny because you see everybody get into Facebook, and now it seems like Facebook is kind of going away. Not going away, it's not going anywhere, don't get me wrong, but the dynamics and the demographics of people who use it are changing, and that's driving some of the younger people away, where the older people tend to like it. So was that not social media, but the idea of the importance of communication? Is that one of the reasons that you went back to Florida Golf Coast University to get your communications degree?
Yes, I had a 2-year degree prior to going to Penn State, an AA degree, Associate in Arts, a 2-year certificate program at Penn State. And education's always been extremely important to me, and so I always wanted a 4-year degree. But once I became superintendent of Florida, I just didn't have the time to go back. I value the importance of it, so when Florida Gulf Coast University opened up locally, it's just north of us in Estero, I saw an opportunity, and I didn't know if I wanted to go for business or communication. Thought about it, looked at the curriculum, and communication fit. It's what I love to do. I enjoy the photography. I enjoy writing. I thought I wanted to be a journalist growing up. So all those things I wanted to do growing up, dreamed about, I'm doing as a golf course superintendent and with my communication. So yes, I went back mainly nights and summertime and graduated from Florida Gulf Coast University.
Yeah, that's awesome that you can do that while you're being a golf course superintendent. I think that sometimes people get so focused on the job they're doing, they don't look at some of the extracurricular that could ultimately benefit their career. So, so in terms of social media, what are you on, and what do you like, and what do you dislike?
Well, as you said, I have a website, and that website is my hub. You know, websites are generally less used today than they were in the past, but I think they're extremely important still. So, as you said, my hub is my website, and then all my social media is listed there so you can quickly link to it. Also, my business card is a QR code that will take you to my website, which you've pulled up. And I have, obviously, Flickr account. I don't use that as much anymore. The Google Plus, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube.
I'm looking
I
at
have them all.
I have it pulled up as you're talking. I have it so that the people can see it, and it's your website with the course in the background. You can see it probably in mine, but yeah, I go down the list, and it's like Facebook for Olde Florida Golf Club. Do you have a page for your club too, or is that your personal page that works as?
No, I do. I have two. I have a personal page, which essentially is a work page. I have the Old Florida pictures, or if I travel at golf courses, or as you've probably seen, I love fishing, so occasionally there'll be a fish picture on my personal page. But on my Old Florida page, I try to manage it as if no one knows it's me managing it, and I get really excited when I hear individuals that we employ at the club that they say the only thing we could find about Old Florida was on Facebook. 'Cause we're a private club, and we don't advertise. So the only thing you can really find about us on Facebook. But many people I've talked to thought the assistant pro or somebody else was managing that page.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, I think that. I don't think the golf courses in general have utilized Facebook pages as much, although I think that they're pretty good. Tom, if you're wondering what happened, I muted you because I was getting a little bit of feedback, so you can unmute if you want, but it was kind of cycling. But anyway, I don't think that people are using it enough. I think that there's so much ability to kind of draw attention, and maybe some clubs don't want to, and that's fine too, but in terms of when golf is down and business is competitive, I find that Facebook can actually help drive some traffic and some interest. And really, it's all about the Google search. So the more places you're on and the more social media you're on, when someone searches for something, whether it be Olde Florida or Darren Davis, you want that to filter towards the top so that people can find you. So what's your favorite then?
You know, I think I've probably migrated more to Instagram. I think Facebook is extremely valuable. As you know, Facebook has changed its policies. It's a little hard to get your message out because everyone that's liked your page is not receiving that information. So I've turned to other sources, trying to be more of a shotgun type approach because everyone's different. So I like Instagram because Instagram you can link in your Flickr, Tumblr, which I didn't mention before, Flickr, Tumblr, Twitter, and Facebook. So as I walk the golf course in the morning, I'm taking pictures with my iPhone, inputting a note into my notes section, cutting and pasting into Instagram, and so all within 2-3 minutes, I can update whoever's on my social media on those 5 sites with one push of the button.
Yeah, I'm going through it now too. You have some good pictures, so you must love photography. You mentioned that before.
I do, yeah. Growing up, as I said, I wanted to be a journalist or a photographer. So I enjoy being able to incorporate all those passions into my work at Olde Florida.
Yeah, I have to say too that one of the things that I find nice or interesting about the life of a golf course superintendent or this industry is that you have the ability to do all these other things that can still kind of relate. Like you could write articles for Golf Course Management magazine, or you could, you know, take pictures and publish them on Instagram, or even get more into it and take awesome pictures of the golf course and those types of things. So, well, obviously your efforts have helped. I know that you won one of the top awards from the golf course industry at the GIS conference a few years ago. So, so your role at GCSA, okay? So social media and visibility, that probably plays a fairly large role in terms of your visibility with the association as well. You've been a director for 4 years, and so that's obviously a lot of hard work. You decided to continue on. I know we talked about this in the past as to whether that was going to be something that you were going to do or not, or stop, but I see that you're running for secretary-treasurer, and that I guess will be elected or voted on this coming February. So, so tell us about your role at GCSA, why you got involved, why you think it's important, and what the hell you actually do with it.
Well, I'm a 4th-year director. It certainly is time-consuming. It takes a lot of effort, but I enjoy it. I enjoy giving back to the association that's given so much to me. I can still remember strapping the boots on at Golden Eagle in Tallahassee 26 years ago, and GCSA is one of the sources that I turn to for information. So it's been great to give back. We have an incredible, talented CEO in Red Evans. Watching him build a team around himself and really move the association forward is very exciting. The key priorities that we have, one of which is advocacy. And I always stress that advocacy is much more than Capitol Hill. GCSA is very focused on advocating on the behalf of our GCSA membership to the employers. So I've enjoyed that, and part of that advocacy includes social media. And we have just finished a digital audit, hired an outside firm to come in and look at everything GCSA does in the digital world, which is, includes social media. So we'll be discussing that at our upcoming board meeting, summer board meeting in Denver in 2 weeks. So I'm excited. I think Craig Smith, our new Director of Communications, is doing an outstanding job with traditional print media and press releases, and looking forward to what GCSA will be bringing forward in the future. We had a strategic planning session under Pat Finland's direction, and we spent 2 days locked in a hotel room in Kansas City Airport. And what came out of that is we know that GCSA needs to be focused on technology. That was number one. Our association, like many of our superintendents, tend to shy away from that. It's human nature, I think, in our profession to not be out there in the public, to be visible, to be on the edge. And our association it recognizes that and wants to help our members move forward. So it's exciting times.
Yeah, so I'm interested about the digital audit that you did. So obviously you want to see what the presence of GCSA is, just in print media, in whatever format they're looking for. Is that going to be used to kind of drive the direction of it, or just to figure out how to maybe improve their presence in the? What's the purpose?
It is. We know at GCSA we do a lot of surveys, and one thing that we found in the surveys is a large part of our membership aren't engaged in social media, but there are a number that are. So we know we have to be a wide array of types of communication. So print stays important, although media has certainly turned more to online stuff. A number of our members still want that hard copy magazine, so that can't go away.
I'm on it.
Good, I am as well.
And so am I.
Good. But we also need to be ahead of the times. We don't need to be reactory. We need to be ahead of the times, ahead of the curve. So we have a number of different brands out there with golf course management. We have GCSAA, we have EIFG. So I think we're looking at how we can bring all those things together and come out in one voice.
Yeah, good. Obviously, GCSA, they're it. I'm going to do it again because I'm still getting a little bit of feedback, but they're it. They're not it. They're not the only source, but it really is a huge resource for the superintendents. And although I've had my differences with GCSA in terms of some of the things that I think that they're doing, it's really they're a huge association, and they have a lot of decisions to make that don't all align with what I think they should be doing, which is perfectly fine and acceptable. But from my student standpoint, I tell them, I'm like, this is a crazy amount of resource, and we visited headquarters in December with my senior, and Rhett was there, and everybody kind of gave an overview of what was going on. And I think one of the challenges for them is they don't even know what's available in terms of resources for them. There's so much, like resume writing and assistance with cover letters and career development and portfolios, and they're like, well, I didn't even know that was available. And part of it is the individual's fault for not going after it, and part of it is just, again, GCSA maybe tackling that digital world and becoming so when people search, like, resume writing help, golf course superintendent, that their stuff pops up towards the top, and maybe those are the kinds of things that will happen with the digital audit they did.
Yeah, I'm certainly excited about the future, John. And as you said, visiting the headquarters, you came away, and your students came away with a new awareness of what GCSA is. We know when people go to the headquarters, that almost always happens. If we can get more people there, it would be outstanding. But we have to figure out a way to make sure our membership understands how much is there.
Yeah, and I'm the first to say, like, I've been there probably maybe 3 times. I always come out of there, even though I'm not involved in GCSA, other than I'm a member and I promote it to the students, and I'm in the industry. I always come out of there with this excitement, like, man, like the amount of work and effort and staff and all the people that are there to pull off what is a 15 or 16,000 member association is huge. And most people see it as GIS once a year, in Orlando, and then that's it, and they don't think about it. But it's really a 365-day-a-year big association operation. So it was good to show the students. I still think that the value for them will be seen probably 3-5 years down the road. Everybody wants to go to a golf tournament. We're taking them all to East Lake this September, so they're like, yeah, we're going to volunteer at a golf tournament. But I think that the headquarters visit's probably going to be one of the highlights when they look back at some of those things.
Good. And the other thing we're doing is field staff, John. We recognize we can't get everybody to headquarters, so we have a fully staffed field staff right now with 9 individuals that has been an extremely successful program.
Yeah, Chase was just actually, I met with him this morning. He was at our research facility taking a walk around, so that was Tom, I'm going to unmute you because I don't want to. Actually, I can't unmute you. You have to unmute yourself. So, so you can do that. I wanted to make sure that you got in if you had any more questions for Darren. Darren, I know you got a meeting to go to here shortly, and I appreciate you coming. But I thought we'd kind of wrap up. Tom, if you had any questions or thoughts for Darren as we head out.
No, I think what I'd like to hear from Darren, though, the magazine is important to me and to my vintage because we're hard copy kind of guys, and John even likes it. But the advertisers in today's world depend on all the social media conversation that you've just been having. Does that play a role when your people try to sell advertising space in the magazine?
It does to a degree. We're certainly looking at how we can bring more value to our vendors, our partners, and the partner recognition program is certainly one of those ways by grouping in their funds to not only the magazine but other avenues of advertisement for them. So it's certainly a concern. We've been able to keep the magazine at a fairly good size. We certainly have to balance content with advertising sales, but we have a terrific marketing staff at GCSA, and we're excited we can keep it going.
Good.
Yeah, and we advertise, and I mean, we started a couple years ago putting full-page ads in to try and recruit people, and it's hard to distinguish because as an advertiser and not the person advertising or the magazine itself, it's hard for us to determine how much of our traffic and our influence is coming from those ads we place. But I do hear that people are flipping through, and I say, where did you read about us? And a lot of times it's 80% of it is word of mouth from their boss. But a lot of times we will hear, nope, I read about it in Golf Course Industry Magazine or Golf Course Management or one of the others. Or I saw it in Google or something. There's some digital or print version that they saw. So we do find value in it. It's just hard to figure out what that value is because unless you put like your link as psuturf.com/ and then like GCM14, like the specific ad and that link is going to something. It's very hard to tell how much traffic that individual ad is driving, which has always been something as an entrepreneur or business side of it, it drives me crazy because you want to be able to get that return on investment, but you can't really tell what that is sometimes. But there's nothing better than getting the magazine and opening it up and seeing a full page ad of one of our alumni that we've highlighted and knowing that that's seen by people for a long time. Those magazines get distributed to the owners, hang out in the maintenance facility in the lunchroom and people flip through it, look at
the men's grill room.
Yeah, I know. I mean, all those things. It's good articles in there, so I think people like to flip through and read it. So I'm glad to hear that that's not going away. One of my biggest disappointments was when the Green Section Record, when they stopped the hard copy of that. I think that, Tom, you must think the same.
I thought that was just unbelievably stupid. But
yeah, I mean, I know, I get it. I get why people are like, hey, everybody can get it digitally, but I don't disagree. It has to be a digital copy. You have to be able to have those hot links. You have to be able to. But that hard copy is important. It's on my desk, right, on my coffee table right now. So when students and potential students come in the room, they can pick it up and they can see it. So.
Excellent.
Well, Darren, we're going to wrap up and go. Any final thoughts from you?
Well, I thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for the invitation. If anything I can do for either of you or anybody, please never hesitate to contact me. I enjoy talking to my peers around the country and If any GCSA information anybody wants, please let me know. As you know, you can reach me on my website, and all the contact information is there, so anytime.
Yeah, I think that your presence on social media is well established, and I think that if they do a quick one of those spots. Tom, any last words or anything that you have coming up that you wanted to mention?
Well, no, just to thank you again, Darren. It's been great to see you and listen to your comments and thoughts. All important to the industry, and all the best moving forward.
Thank you. It's good to see you. It's been too long.
Yep.
Yeah, and we appreciate it. And I'll say to everybody out there, you're probably running against nobody, Darren. I don't know who's on the ballot, but I will say good luck at the election for Secretary Treasurer GCSA in February. And if I don't see you before then good luck, and I'll see you there. But thanks again for being our guest here, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, John.
Okay, see you, everybody.
Bye.